people call me a spy because I worked for the president. Like I had this title of, I was called the president of Egypt. People would come after me really hard. They would call me arrogant.
There is a tide turning against the way that the IMF and the World Bank has been imposing these criteria on countries. Is it arbitrary? Is that really the only way to go?
You want the honest answer or the diplomatic? I'm concerned about the extent to which young people are giving up their individual ability to think to AI.
This episode is brought to you by EFG Hermes One, your one app for investing in more than 35 stock markets worldwide. This episode is also brought to you by Azza Fahmy Jewelry. Welcome back to What I Did Next from A&T Media. I'm Malak, your host. Each month, I sit down with a new guest and we look at their lives' most consequential moments. Today, I'm joined by Dina Sherif. Dina is the Executive Director of the MIT Kuo Sharper Center for Prosperity and Entrepreneurship. She's also the founding partner of Ahead of the Curve, an advisory and investment firm based in Cairo. In the first of 2 episodes, we talk about both her work as an entrepreneur as well as her work at the center at MIT. So, Dina, I'm very happy to have you on the show. And you came to my attention through Karima Hakim. Karima has now become an old friend. She's an alumni guest of the show. And she's always been this kind of person who has always paid it forward. She very, very quickly after the episode we recorded, she said to me, you must have Dina Sherif on the show. So I'm really glad we're doing this.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dina.
I have also been binging your podcast.
That's really sweet. And also, you and I today are wearing Azza Fahmy.
Beautiful Azza Fahmy.
Your favorite.
My favorite. Yes, I'm very close to her.
I know.
I love her very much.
Yeah. I want to begin by asking you, because your resume is so impressive, and it's so varied, from working in academia, from working on your own with your own business, in different markets, in different countries, completely different types of locations and work ethics. So I want to go through a lot of that in detail. But I want to ask you one question first. If someone was to ask you, what is your profession? What would you say?
I think if you had asked me 25 years ago, over 25 years ago now, really, I probably would have said I'm just an economist focused on economic development. But I think if you ask me today, I would say, while I am an economist and economic development is at the kind of core of my work as what I hope my work will impact, I would also say I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an investor, I'm an ecosystem builder. But all of that is really focused, my entire profession has really been focused on the intersection of entrepreneurship, private sector, and sustainable development.
So now you're working at MIT and you're running a lab, is that what it would be called?
An academic center.
What is it that you're doing specifically there?
It's called the MIT Kuo Sharper Center for Prosperity and Entrepreneurship. The reason why I joined is because I felt that the mission of the center encompassed all of my history prior to that point. The center was established literally almost 20 years. This is our 20-year anniversary. And it was established by this incredible Bangladeshi entrepreneur who believed that emerging markets, or what we now call growth markets, that are very much guided by World Bank, IMF policies of what development should look like, felt that our countries were being misguided because they were never given the free rein to build their economies bottom up and to really focus on entrepreneurship as a core part of achieving prosperity. And so he established a center at MIT because he felt that MIT was a university that really had entrepreneurship and innovation at the very heart of what it stood for, right? And what he wanted to say is that if we really want our countries to prosper, it's not just that we need to build SMEs. We need to really see enterprises evolve that are innovation-driven, that have science and technology at the very core, because that was the engine behind what allowed advanced economies to become advanced.
But also, sorry to cut you off, also you need the government to work hand in hand.
Correct.
And you need infrastructure in place, you need banking policy in place, you need all of that to go with it, right? Okay.
Yes. And so he had this vision of establishing a center that would really focus on how do we build the right ecosystems to be able to see entrepreneurship, specifically innovation-driven entrepreneurship, thrive. And when MIT says ecosystems, it looks at 5 core stakeholders, similar to what you said. The government is a core part of that, so policies matter. Second part is corporates, because you need big corporates. They are the ones who acquire new innovation. They also play a big role in seeing the ecosystem as a whole thrive. Then you have entrepreneurs themselves. You have risk capital players, venture capitalists, private equity, angel investors. And then, of course, you have universities. And so those 5 core stakeholders are at the heart of, if we really want to see entrepreneurship and innovation thrive, we need to see these 5 stakeholders work together in a very organic, synchronized manner. But the problem with our markets is that nobody was really investing in R&D or science and technology, because that was really never part of what traditional development was about. But at the same time, when you look at countries like the United States or China or Europe, what was at the heart of their ability to evolve? That was innovation. Science was what Silicon Valley was driven by, investments in science.
You talked about how you look at the IMF, the World Bank. Are you saying that the way that they've approached development and the growth of countries and reform in certain countries, I'm thinking of Egypt, obviously, is not a good model? I'm just curious because there is a tide turning against the way that the IMF and the World Bank has been imposing these criteria on countries like Egypt, and the entire government policy is geared towards meeting these criteria. Is it arbitrary? Is that really the only way to go?
You want the honest answer or the diplomatic?
I want the honest one.
This is the honest answer from my perspective, is that the Bretton Woods institutions, in my opinion, were an extension of the former colonial system, right?
Imperial reach and all of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Their policies were originally never designed to see economies be sovereign. So in all these years since, like, let's take Africa. We can take so many places in the world as an example, but let's take Africa as an example. You know, everyone celebrated the independence of all these countries and all talked about the sovereignty of all these countries, but they never actually achieved economic sovereignty.
That's right.
I can't say that Egypt itself has achieved full economic sovereignty. I think Egypt has enormous potential because actually we have a diverse economy. We have the ingredients for industrialization. But our country, like many other countries, are crippled by debt and also crippled by lack of investment in human potential. How can you invest in human potential when you're constantly struggling to pay off debt, when you are
and the debt issue is a direct result of IMF and World Bank policy?
I think it's just a vicious cycle, right? You take debt. It's kind of how I feel about microfinance. You take debt, you pay it off, you have to take more debt, you have to pay it off, you have to take, it's like, it doesn't lead.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. It can maybe keep you from going deeper into poverty or deeper into like regressing in terms of development, but I'm not sure it unleashes prosperity. You can't unleash prosperity without human potential, and I don't think we've invested enough in human potential. The amount of money invested in R&D is not even worth mentioning, but also the lack of focus in our ecosystems of commercializing that R&D, actually taking whatever, even if it's minuscule, we do have scientists and researchers doing cutting edge research, but they're not taking it to market because that's a failure of our own innovation ecosystems that have evolved over time.
And in your work, are you working with particular areas of the world? I mean, I know you have a particular interest in Africa.
Yes, we only focus on emerging markets, or what we call growth markets. For a long time, people would say the third world countries. Then it evolved into developing countries. Then it evolved.
The linguistics keep changing.
Then it evolved into emerging markets. Then they talked about the global south. I have no idea south of what are they talking about. I think all of these terms were designed to keep these countries in a mindset of we are less than. That there's someone who is better and that we are less, and either we are below. These visuals, like when you say global south, it creates a visual of we are here and they are here, emerging, advanced, they are advanced.
You're right.
But the reality is they are advanced because we're fueling their economies with our resources. Anyway, my center focuses on what would be referred to as the global south. We chose to use the word growth markets. I'm not sure it's the right term, but we chose to use it because
more neutral.
Well, the majority of the world's GDP growth is now happening in the very markets that they refer to as less than, right? The majority of GDP growth is happening in these markets now.
From what you're seeing right now, what are the top 5 biggest growth markets that you're focused on, your Africa lens?
So we look at Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Arab region, Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia. 6 of the fastest growing markets in the world right now are in Africa.
Which ones are they?
Egypt. Oh, no, actually, Egypt is not on that list anymore. But Nigeria, I believe Nigeria, Kenya was on that list. I want to say Uganda. And I wouldn't be able to name the other 3.
Egypt was on the list and dropped off?
It's still fast growing, but it's not in that fastest growing anymore. I think it will catch up.
Do you remember when it dropped off? I'm curious to know what happened here for that to change.
A lot of things happened here. We had a revolution.
You mean you were going back that far?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not more recent than that?
No. We had a revolution. After we had a revolution, we had 2 devaluations.
So it's from that period that you're looking at?
This past kind of decade where we've seen difficulties in our economy. I do think that we are going to shift rapidly.
Yeah.
And I also think that the current government has a few people in the new cabinet who really know what they're doing. And if they are left to kind of unleash their full potential, I think that we'll see a lot of really interesting evolution in Egypt.
You know, I've been living in Egypt since 2001. And I lived through the revolution, never left, like a lot of my friends left, but I've been here ever since. And I have been seeing in the last couple of years, and I don't know what comes first. Is it actually things on the ground or is it a perception? But from what I'm perceiving, I'm really feeling quite positive about what I'm seeing and what I feel is coming. I feel that there's quite a strong entrepreneurial spirit happening. And I look at a younger generation of individuals, either they're in their mid-30s or a bit older, who have started these startups, who are now really developing them into these relatively medium-sized businesses. And then I look at an even younger generation, like my own children, and I think about where they're going to go next. And I think that their path is entrepreneurial. They might get some work experience in one of these big established companies, but the only way a country like Egypt is going to really break through is exactly based on what you're saying. It's in that world.
Yeah. I think, before I left to MIT, I had always been here, right? So I was a part of the kind of, I really don't like it when we say, the beginning of when the ecosystem evolved. We've always been entrepreneurial. Yeah. Egypt has always, this is Egypt, right?
Yeah,
thousands of years of civilization. I think what was created was more of a tech innovation ecosystem. And Egypt is unique. Like when you compare it to the rest of Africa, we are actually very unique because I would say that the birth of this entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem was driven by private citizens, not by the government.
That's right.
And actually, a lot of other countries in the world, it's driven by the government or by aid, or not to say that aid didn't play a role here, but I would say the spark originally came from people like Ahmed Alfi.
So it's a bottom up as opposed to a
not just bottom up and driven
grassroots.
by people from the private sector,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
People who felt a need to, coming out of the revolution, wanted to see this country on a different path and begin to thrive and become more globally competitive.
Ahmed's a very good friend.
Yes.
And he was my first guest. Did you know that?
I didn't know he was your first.
He was my first ever guest.
Well,
and we recorded at the Greek campus, and it was COVID. He's unbelievable. Yeah, he's the granddaddy of
yes.
Yeah.
And he is a man who walks the talk.
Yeah.
And he's actually one of the very few people that I have interacted with in this ecosystem who really understands the significance of investing in deep tech, of like taking research in a lab and getting it to market to solve complex challenges. He's one of the very few.
I agree.
Very
with you.
few.
I want to go back a moment, and I want you to tell me a little bit about Ahead of the Curve, the company you had founded in Cairo, because that I think was a seed for you, and it was a launching pad to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I, like many people coming out of that 2011 period, felt like I had to also do something that really mattered. And my co-founder, Mohammed Qala, and I, and had another co-founder as well, we believed very much in the role of the private sector. And, Mohammed is the CEO of Sira, which is now the largest education company in Egypt. And I had, written a book about philanthropy in the Arab region, had focused a lot on corporate philanthropy, had been deeply inspired by Fadi Ghandour, what he had been doing.
Another guest.
Yes, I saw. What he had done with Aramex was a big part of what put me on that path.
It was a big deal in the Middle East.
Big deal. And he also played a big role in shaping many people, including myself. I've known Fadi since I was 30 years old. And I think what he did with Aramex showed me that companies have a role to play, not in philanthropy, but in how they manage themselves as companies. That core of integrating responsibility and ethics into your DNA, not just responsibility, but sustainability, do no harm, like serve your people.
And outlive the founder.
Because
in the Middle East, it's
very
unusual.
rare, and he stepped down.
And he did that.
Yeah. I mean, he's done everything that is kind of,
absolutely.
So he was a big inspiration. So when we started Ahead of the Curve, we wanted to work on kind of large corporates and really think about how we can help large corporates integrate that ethos of sustainability, responsibility into the DNA, not about corporate philanthropy, but about sustainability management and responsible business practice. So I became very focused on that. And then after a couple of years, I became very frustrated. I felt like you could only go so far working with already existing companies and helping them kind of integrate this into their business models. And why not work with young people who want to start impact-driven businesses from the get-go? And so we started designing programs that would train young Arabs on how to design, build, and scale.
So working with people who didn't have a track record already.
Correct.
Who could imbue those new kinds of skills that you wanted.
Who are interested in applying technology and science to large-scale problems through entrepreneurship. And so that's what we did. And we did really, really well. And that's actually Ahead of the Curve became known more for its work on entrepreneurship than its work on big corporates.
I see. Okay. And how long did you have the business for?
Still exists.
It still exists?
Yeah.
But you stepped away?
I stepped away.
Yeah. When did you step away?
In 2018.
And that was when you left the country, or what happened then?
I left the country in 2017. It was after, I think I was deeply burnt out. I had, a Center for Entrepreneurship at AUC. I was teaching. I was doing Ahead of the Curve. I was on the Economic Council for the President of Egypt. I was burnt out.
You had too much going on.
I was burnt out. I was tired. I felt like I felt like my work had become too small for me, and also I felt like I was no longer adding the kind of value that I could, and I wasn't my best self anymore. And so...
And did you come to that realization alone, or did someone shine a spotlight on it for you?
No, I came to that realization alone, and I started looking for opportunities that would allow me to get some space and reflection.
This episode is brought to you by EFG Hermes One, your one app for investment across more than 35 stock markets worldwide. With EFG Hermes One, you can buy and sell orders in real time for immediate execution across multiple global markets. You can keep track of your favorite stocks by creating and customizing multiple watch lists, and make informed investment decisions with their advanced technical analysis tools to study market trends and investor behavior. So supercharge your financial journey and download the EFG Hermes One app on the Apple App Store and on Google Play and start investing today. Welcome back to my first part of the conversation with Dina Sherif. Before the break, Dina spoke to me about how she stepped away from her role at Ahead of the Curve and decided to take a break. I'm always curious about people who do that, because you stepped away from your life.
Stepped away from...
And I'm assuming that Ahead of the Curve was doing well. You didn't need to do that in terms of the trajectory was going in the right way, I'm assuming. But you kind of said, I need to take a step back. I've never done that. That's a real risk, right? Because you could have just walked away and you could have done your year at Harvard, and then you could have found yourself, wow, now what? Well, you're a risk taker by nature?
Probably.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of risky things in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's risky. I've done things that are considered out of the norm, right? Yeah, it was definitely a risk, and I had no idea like what I was doing. If you ask me now, I'd say going to Harvard was not the right thing. But I ultimately is probably the right thing for what I needed to learn about myself, and also it's what led me to MIT.
So let's unpack that for a second. Why was it not the right thing, but why did it in the end lead to the right path for you?
I don't know that the education component added enormous value to me, and also I'm not sure that I made the best of it because I was in such a bad place going in, and I think it was probably a mistake to enroll myself in like a degree program, right? I needed to take a proper
sabbatical.
Time out.
You needed a gap year.
I needed a proper time out. But, because of who I am, unless I'm doing something that is considered meaningful or productive, I'm like, no. So I needed to, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's still time off. But it wasn't really. Harvard is a very intense environment. I think ultimately it was good for me because I learned a lot about myself in the process. Here in Egypt, for the most part, I was always beloved. I never had these experiences of people attacking me aggressively or not liking me, or, even if I didn't always fit in here or belong, I had my kind of Harvard was
You had
hard.
your people here and you
Harvard
had your place.
Was hard, and I was faced with a number of I came to learn that this was what adult bullying looked like.
Give me an example of that. What does adult bullying look like?
People call me a spy because I worked for the president. I had this title of, I was called the president of Egypt. People would come after me really hard. They would call me arrogant.
Americans?
Arabs.
Doing the program with you?
My own people. Arabs, Egyptians came at me really, really hard. And it was really hard for me. It impacted me deeply. And it was really a tough, miserable year.
And how old were you then?
41.
41. Wow. It's so unusual to think of bullying at this age. I mean, it never crossed my mind that this would be an issue.
Yeah. Later, when I described it to a good friend of mine who is a psychologist, and he said, this is what adult bullying looks like. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't have the tools to deal with it. And for some reason, I'm a pretty assertive person and I can speak up for myself and I know how to speak back to people. For some reason, I couldn't.
You couldn't there, huh? Yeah.
I just couldn't. I found myself paralyzed. I think in the end, it was good for me because it taught me that I don't always have to be liked, but I always have to stand strong in my power and not be ashamed of what I've achieved or...
Dina, this is such a woman's thing, isn't it?
It's such a woman's thing.
No man would be sitting in front of me now
And I was
telling me that they had adult bullying.
And you know who I was attacked most by?
By women.
By women.
Yeah, of course.
It was horrible.
Yeah, it's always women. Women against women. Yeah. I had in my career 3 consecutive women bosses.
Yeah.
They were the worst bosses I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't understand it. I mean, what happened to the sisterhood? What happened to helping each other out?
Doesn't exist.
Zero. But it's also generational.
Yes.
When I look at younger generations of women, it's a completely different ballgame. When I was starting out, you and I are similar ages. When I was in my mid-20s, that's when I had those women bosses. They were older. And so they had to, do everything to get to where they were. And they didn't have that feeling of, helping each other out. But a man wouldn't be thinking this way at all.
No.
And he wouldn't feel the bullying that you felt.
And they probably would have felt very okay with pushing back.
Absolutely.
And I felt very paralyzed. Yeah. But out of it, I kind of swore to myself that I would never be a person who didn't support other women or attacked other women in public. I mean, I've been known to be hard on people I work with, but that's not gender related.
Yeah.
I'm just hard on people I work with.
Yeah.
I want them to unleash their full potential. But that experience did hit me hard. It took me a long time to come back from it.
As a true academic, Dina took the assignment of this interview really seriously and came back to me with a really long list of pivots, one of which was loss. She lost both her father and her brother during COVID.
The idea that somebody should, when they're in poor health, should pass with dignity within a healthcare system, I think was something that hit me very hard.
When was it, Dina?
With my father, 2012. It hit me hard because I felt like the healthcare system crushed him. It was not respectful of him as a human here in Egypt. And he passed away in a hospital. And I think it was really due to very poor quality healthcare.
Yep.
And I think on that level, it has... I've even before that, I wrote my dissertation on the right to healthcare, and it was cross-comparative analysis between Egypt and Ghana. So I've always been obsessed with healthcare, but to see it live in my father and kind of, him going through kidney failure and then heart failure and dialysis and open heart surgery and the way he was treated and even the way he was treated in death in a hospital, I just felt so not humane.
I was exposed to that as well with my father. My father had Parkinson.
Yeah.
During the last couple of months of his life, he went into the ICU. And it was the most horrendous experience of our lives.
Correct.
And for us, what shocked me was that it was a money-making game for them. That was it, pure and simple.
It's horrific.
It's horrific.
And when my brother was in the hospital during COVID, he was in the ICU. It was just horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific. The way, the care and it was horrific. But I think that part aside, the process of having to redefine yourself when you lose somebody so integral to your life, I think is something that, no one explained to you that every time you lose somebody who's like a limb, a sibling also, loss of a sibling at our age.
Was he younger than you?
Older. Siblings, they're your past, your present, and your future.
And they're the witnesses of your life.
Everything. Yeah. They know everything about you. It's like literally losing a limb, right? Yeah. And every time you lose somebody, whether it happens naturally or tragically, it doesn't matter. You have to go through this process of figuring out how to exist without that person. That's the hard part. And I think painful as those losses were, I've learned a lot about just the process of having to redefine who you are.
Does it also make you try and live more in the moment?
No. What made me live more in the moment was
getting sick.
Yes. My own health
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
And like the dance with mortality, personally. I mean, sure, for sure, when you lose people you care about, you realize that, all you have is now.
Exactly.
But all you have is now is really all you've ever had.
Yeah.
And every time you lose somebody, people always say, oh, you have to live more in the moment, blah, blah, blah. Nothing teaches you that, but more than having somebody say, oh, by the way, you have cancer. Or by the way, you need to go do spinal surgery. We're afraid you're going to be paralyzed. Things like that. And
how old were you when you got cancer?
42.
42. And you had ovarian?
I had ovarian. My ovary twisted around a tumor multiple times. So, ovarian cancer is actually caught very late.
Yes,
usually,
I know that. I know that.
Usually you don't catch until you get to stage 4. I was lucky because my body ended up having this visceral reaction of twisting and twisting and twisting. And what led me to the hospital was that pain of my ovary twisting around a tumor.
And God for that.
But that led me on my own path, right? And it led me to do my own research about how to heal myself. It led me to do my own research about, how to create a conducive environment for your body to heal. And that led me to reading a whole body of research around water fasting.
I wonder, Dina, what would your sliding doors have been like if you hadn't had that? Would you have just carried on working really hard, or would you have learned to pace yourself more? Did it come as a point where sometimes these things are in our path for a reason, right?
Yeah. I think I probably would have constantly worked myself to the ground. I wouldn't have had the awareness of my body or the appreciation for the fact that this body is my vessel carrying me through life. I wouldn't have had the appreciation of food and the importance of food and what that can do.
Food as medicine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had the deep understanding of natural things that we have, like the process of autophagy and our own natural ability to sweep up bad cells and recreate new cells if you have the right environment. There's so many things I learned about health and well-being through this process. And I think it was really important for me to live through. But also, my back surgery has been a little bit more profound because...
Was that more recent?
I had to do spinal surgery 2 years ago. And ever since, I have lived in chronic discomfort.
Wow.
Chronic. I have had nerve issues since. I still don't feel the bottom of my foot. But I've lived in chronic pain and discomfort for the past 2 years. And
is there no way out of that?
I mean, who knows? Medicine's
Are there still things you're
evolving.
looking into doing?
Do I do another surgery on my back? Do I, play around? I mean, there are new technologies coming. The reality is people don't know anything about it. Doctors don't know anything about nerves. There's still new research coming out about how to regenerate nerves. And, nobody really understands quite yet. And I'm sure the female body is also... has its own way of doing things.
Sure.
So no, nobody has been able to give me, this is your way out.
Yeah.
But I've played around with different things. I've done my own research. I've been lucky, but it has also given me enormous amount of empathy for people who have lived with physical pain and what it means to be able to exist on a daily basis in physical pain, but still show up and still try to be your best self and still keep taking one step forward at a time. I think cancer taught me a lot. My spinal surgery is what taught me that these hardships are not what define me. What define me is how I'm dealing with them and how I choose to continue to show up regardless. And I think that was not an easy process. I think
you wouldn't have come to that realization without those two things in your life.
Absolutely not.
For sure.
Absolutely
not. Yeah. Interesting, Dina. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We are now going to go into our last section, lightning round. So remove the heaviness, remove the career, and I'm going to ask you a couple of things. Don't overthink it. Just whatever comes to mind. If you had 25 hours in a day, how would you spend that last hour?
With my family.
Networking or Netflix?
Networking.
Looking ahead, what are you excited about?
I'm really excited about how we as a people and countries are reshaping who we are, and how we're defined. Like, I've seen people stand up in front of people and say, you don't get to define where I come from or who I am. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift happening on that front. I agree. If you were looking ahead, what are you concerned about?
I'm concerned about the extent to which young people are giving up their individual ability to think to AI. It's deeply concerning to me. I see it in my office every day. It's a disease. I see how people are no longer embracing their own individual intellectual capacity, but rather are depending on AI to give them the answers and tell them what to think.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you had to choose another profession, what would it be?
Oof.
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
So many things.
I mean, I wanted to be an airline hostess.
Honestly, I think I would become a healthcare advocate.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that's something you probably wouldn't have said 15 years ago, right?
Absolutely not.
What's your favorite activity?
My favorite activity, well, probably these days, taking a book and sitting by the beach near my house in Soma Bay.
Nice. And quiet and no one disturbing you.
Quiet, nobody disturbing me with my nice, beautiful mango smoothie.
Nice.
And thinking about the things that we talked about.
Yeah. Well, because these are issues that need thought.
Yes.
Right? They're not like this.
No.
Yeah. Last one. I'm going to begin a sentence and I want you to end it. I get joy from
spending time with people I love.
Nice. In part 2 coming up next week, Dina tells me how essential entrepreneurship is to any nation's national competitiveness strategy. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Malak Fuad, and this episode was produced by Chirag Desai. See you again next week.